TikTok, it's time to rock, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Sunday show. We're here with a special ZoSo show. We do look forward to the ZoSo shows. I'm getting messages, Brad and Rock Professor, from people saying, why don't you guys do regular ZoSo shows? And I'm saying to them, look, we just feed them out slowly. It's just like candy. It's just, we just throw those little bits and pieces out there. Seems to be working, but I know that my co-hosts and I are always excited when we do and plan anything around a ZoSo show, Brad.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's obviously the reason, we get up and do this every Sunday is part of it. Led Zeppelin, we love it. So what can I say? I think it's.
I'm worried, Brad, that you're getting up on a Sunday evening to get to it.
No, well, literally just get up off the couch. But yeah, what I mean is the reason we get up and do this every Sunday is because a big part of it is because of Led Zeppelin, 100%.
Yeah. And we're looking forward to this one. This show's going to have some interesting content, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But we've got a couple of shout-outs that we want to do before we get into the intro. You guys may see down there on the bottom there, we've reached another milestone for the channel. We're up to and I was corrected in the green room by the Rock Professor, 4.62 subscribers to the channel. So again, without sounding, repetitive, we're always humbled by it, but it's a sincere humbling that we have, because we just talk about that often. We spend a couple of minutes in the green room, guys, talking about that today, that we're blown away by what you guys have done and what you guys do to help spread our channel, Simon. It's always humbling, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We are amazed and astonished by the numbers of people we're getting subscribing and stuff, and we're humbled and honoured by the fact that people think that it's it's worthy of their attention, and they watch the shows and get something out of them. We hope, I think that's fantastic, and thanks to everyone who subscribed, and we will continue to say that, because we are truly thankful that people have that consider it worthy of their time, because we are conscious that time is valuable for us all, and we don't want to waste anyone's.
Absolutely, and that's one of the key things that we get messages about. People like the fact that look, we like to have a bit of fun, Brad. I've got some clickbait pics I love throwing up, and I get honoured because I get to share clickbait posts on other social media platforms, and but the clickbait that we share is though it is co-hosts, so it is show related, isn't it, Simon?
It is, and I think we need to raise one thing. I understand, Brad, you've got a sponsor. I noticed on social media you have a sponsor. Can this be true? A clothes sponsor?
Yes, from my bodybuilding and fitness days, yes, and
yes.
This is my sponsors, yeah. So I've
good work.
Good company here in Australia, based out of Melbourne, and thanks for that. I'll give them a shout out. They're lovely people. Ellie and Gary, they're amazing. They've really supported me through all my fitness endeavors, including competing, doing bodybuilding, men's fitness, bodybuilding, and also when I was running a personal training business, they were supporting me with clothing and all sorts of things. So they're wonderful. But they shared a post the other day, and I had a bit of a laugh. I thought, oh, wow, they still actually sponsor me.
Yeah. I'm taking this advantage, taking this opportunity to point it out, because I think it's great fun.
Lockdowns, Stroke and Rona, and they're still sponsoring me, so they're wonderful people.
That's really nice. Well, that's really cool. They deserve a shout out for that, for sure.
Absolutely. And if you guys aren't already subscribed to Brad's YouTube channel, he's easy to find. He's up there. He's the first one on our channels page. We've got lots of friends up there, so we sincerely ask, if you are watching now, if you're one of the 14 people who haven't subscribed to all those channels, please do. If you're watching a replay and you haven't subscribed, take that 30 seconds, go to the channel page and subscribe to Brad especially.
Oh,
And if you want to find out the people that Brad's talking about regarding his cage fighting days, go to his page, and I'm sure he'll have all the links there to the people that he's talking about, and anything else that Brad does. Go and have a look.
Yeah.
I would truly appreciate more people coming across to check out my YouTube channel and check out my songs, and just I've even done a little celebration day thing on there about a year ago. So check it out.
Oh, cool. There we are. Link it in. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Fantastic. So if you want to know about Brad,
that might get highlighted on the third my favorite YouTube channel's show, bro. So
the cage fighting.
Play a little. Yeah. Just Google Brad the Tornado Cook and for his UFC career.
Yeah, failed miserably, but yeah.
Guys, I want to do before we go completely off track.
Stop that now.
I just want to do a quick shout out. We've all got some shout outs that we want to do, but I want to do a special shout out to Luca, who's been on our show, on the 5150 show especially. Yep. I'm pretty sure Luca's YouTube channel is on our channels page. If it isn't, I'll make a point of going and having a look after the show and putting it up there. It's Luca's birthday over the last couple of days. I think it was yesterday. He's provided some background music for the new 5150 show intro that we've got coming up, that we're planning. So thank you, bro, for the music. Thank you for hanging out with us and still wanting to come back and do some more 5150 shows. And happy birthday! And thank you for the posts that you've been putting on your Instagram account regarding his job. He's been putting photographs of the wonderful courthouse that he works at, Simon. It's great stuff.
Yeah, marvellous.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, thank you, Luca. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to say happy birthday to one of our regulars, Teresa, whose birthday it was this week. So happy birthday to you, Teresa. I hope you had a good one. And thank you so much for your support in Brazil and stuff. It is seen and very much appreciated how much reposting you do. And how many subscribers we've got from Brazil. It's fantastic. So happy birthday to you as well. I hope you had a lovely day.
Happy birthday. Yeah. And I've got a bit of a shout out to one of my heroes, Slash. Turned 57 this week, and he's still out there rocking with the best of them. So, in fact, I think he's playing at the moment some of the best playing I've ever seen him do. So happy birthday, Slash. So we want to get you on the show as soon as we can. And also, happy birthday, Appetite for Destruction, 35 years old. So,
wow.
Happy birthday. I remember buying that when it came out. So, unbelievable.
What were you 5 years old?
35 years old. I was 2.
2. Honestly, really? You remember that?
Yeah, you don't remember buying that. Your mum bought it for you.
Let's ask her. She's in the chat. Yes.
Yeah, goodness gracious. I'm a little bit older than that, guys. I was actually able to go and buy it. So.
Okay. All right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I don't believe him. I don't believe a word. Yeah. But we'll take him at his word. Okay. Rock Professor. You want to do a shout out to?
I was going to say, let me a shout out to all the people in the chat.
To all the patient people.
Yeah, fantastic. So we've got for Tim Thomas. Good morning, Tim, and of course the mighty Nelson Rodriguez. Morning, Nelson. Keith Campbell. Morning, Keith. Who's been asking for thumbs up. So thank you for that, Keith. the 5150 show. We've got Jimmy Ray Hawkins switching to coffee to keep himself going. Nice one, Jimmy. That's dedication. That is. It's Gret Zeppelin as well, the aptly named Gret Zeppelin. Teresa, good morning, Teresa, and happy birthday again. Ellen as well, still under her pseudonym. Still haven't got her real identity back. So good morning to you. Hope you're good. Jazz Thunder 50, Jim. Good morning, Jim, from north of the border. He's not. He's like me. Gets up reasonably early and he's awake, and just have something with his breakfast. Tim Todd. You've got Johnny Heartbreaker as well. Morning, Johnny. Hope you're good. Hope all is well in your world. Robert Ranford. Morning, Robert. I think that may be most of the people we've had so far. I think so. Hope I didn't miss anybody. Shout out if I didn't, and I will say hello to you. But I think that's everybody. Yeah. So good morning, all. Thanks for joining. Fantastic to see you. And
shout out to the people that will be watching us on replay. Thank you guys, and we look forward to any comments that you guys want to give to anything that we say, or any opinions that you guys have on any of the replays. And clearly, obviously, Brad, if people want to ask some comments or give their opinions live in the chat, we'll do our best to incorporate them into the show too, won't we?
100%. We'll definitely on that for sure. 100%.
Okay, guys. I've got the task of doing a bit of an introduction on the show this evening or this morning for us, but I'm going to perhaps change a little bit of it by obviously including my co-hosts' opinions and thoughts on this introduction, because I think I'm going to open it up to a general conversation, and I'm going to include everybody in the chat too, because we love opinions and we love thoughts and we love ideas on this show. And I want to make a disclaimer. Of course, I'm a fan. Brad's a fan. The Rock Professor's a fan. And we have a lot of people in the chat who are fans. So we're only obviously giving our interpretations, our thoughts, and our views. They may not agree with your view. We may even be wrong on some points. If you want to correct us, please offer some comments, and we'll negotiate that on the next show. If you even want to come on a live future ZoSo show with us and talk about some of these things, we'll happily have them, won't we, Simon?
Absolutely. Oh, and I should say, apparently it's Keith Campbell's birthday on Wednesday. So happy birthday for Wednesday, Keith.
Wow.
There we go. Coming up. So yes, I agree. Sometimes right, sometimes wrong, always certain, I think is our phrase for this, and I think that that's right. We should just say, and if everyone's got different opinions, that's fantastic, and take those on board, because opinions, everyone's got one.
and the reason why I mention that is because I think there's going to be some strong opinions around this package, Brad, leading up to, around it and after it. And, I want my co-hosts and I and everyone in the chat to be upfront and honest with any thoughts or things that they heard around this package, because it deserves to be discussed, and that's what we're here to do. So clearly, guys, we know a little bit about the history, don't we? It was recorded back on December the 10th, 2007, released in 2012, October the 17th, 2 hours. It was a gig, Simon. It was part of the gig for a celebration for Erdogan, the head honcho for
Ahmed
Atlantic Records, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Erdogan.
The great Ahmed Ertegun, yeah.
And
I think.
Do you want to tell people why Ahmed is an important figure for people who may not know that quickly, Simon?
Well, he set up and ran Atlantic Records, which clearly in the late 60s and early 70s was one of the biggest record companies, and had Led Zeppelin on it. It had I mean, it went on to have, all sorts of other huge artists. I mean, all those Atlantics, like Aretha Franklin was on Atlantic Records, Otis Redding was on Atlantic Records. That kind of late 60s soul, soul thing was all Atlantic Records. Sam and Dave, moving from Stax to Atlantic Records and stuff, and they ran that, and their empire, if you like, of being in the blues and blues rock thing is probably unsurpassed. And they took on Led Zeppelin, and they took on Led Zeppelin when Led Zeppelin, probably pioneeringly, had recorded their first album, paid for it themselves, and then basically licensed it to and I think that's probably quite groundbreaking. I don't think many other groups were doing that in 1968 at all. Clearly something that Jimmy Page and Peter Grant particularly had learned about is, you to keep control of all your stuff, what you do is you pay for it and record it yourself, and then you license it, and they took that on and, and built, one of the biggest rock bands in the world at that time, helped by doing that, and then enabled them to have their own label, Swan Song, distributed by Atlantic Records later on.
Yeah, thank you for that, because that's one of the interesting points that we have to remember, that he was a key figure in the development of rock and roll, which is the music that we're here to celebrate, Brad, isn't it? Without Armit having those blueprints, allowing the creativity of a lot of these bands to get together and give them that financial backing, we wouldn't have had half the catalogue that this channel has had the pleasure to talk about. So thank you for that, Simon. What's really interesting, though, about this album, guys, I was doing a little bit of research for it. So 20 million people applied for a total of 18,000 seats when they released the fact that they were going to do that. But what's really interesting, and I want to get perhaps something from Brad in respect to this. So we kind of heard that this was going to happen, that they were talking about this. And like a lot of people, Brad, I was a bit skeptical because we'd heard about, something like this was going to happen for years, and was it going to happen? Wasn't it? Was it if, what were your views and thoughts, bro, when you first heard that they were going to do something like this?
Well, obviously, as a fan, I was excited. I was hoping that they would do it justice because previous things that they'd attempted to do in the past, post Led Zeppelin, post the amazing drummer John Bonham had passed away, were a little bit hit and miss, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. They didn't quite hit the mark with certain things they didn't. The Live Aid in '85 was really not their greatest performance. And the Atlantic Records 40th anniversary, in my opinion, was a bit hit and miss as well. There was moments of magic, but there was a lot of, messy sort of, they weren't really together. You could tell they hadn't really rehearsed. They hadn't really put a lot of effort into it. I'm like, if they're going to do this, I hope they do it well. This is a lot further down the track as well from that 40th anniversary. I'm thinking, the Page and Plant years when they were off touring together. I saw them on that tour with my father, and I saw them one night, and then we got tickets for the third night. We played 3 nights back to back because we had to see it again because it was amazing.
Wow!
So they were, Page and Plant had toured and played a lot of this stuff anyway. So they were on top of their game. That was back in 95, 96, I think, around that era. But you're still a lot further down the track. 2007, still 12 years after, and these are aging men as well. You're talking about Robert Plant, his vocal ability, and he was aware that he was not able to do what he could do in Led Zeppelin. In the present moment, he was aware of that. He knew that because he's a matured guy. He put his voice and everything through a lot in the years, and through his solo career, he became a different kind of singer too. He actually became a different kind of singer, not the bombastic, boisterous 1969 Robert Plant anymore. He was, you know, an artist who was trying to put himself in the limelight, like the Phil Collins and the, you know, that sort of artist, so to speak. So he had actually progressed a lot away from Led Zeppelin with his solo career. So go back to Led Zeppelin for him, obviously was going to take work, and then obviously with Page, you know, not really being proactive since the Page and Plant thing. He'd done a few things here and there with the Black Crowes, and fantastic, played amazingly on the Black Crowes. But it was like obviously thinking, are they going to patch things up with John Paul Jones? Because that left a sour note for him when they did Page and Plant tours. It was, you know, when it was a bit public that he felt like he left out of that. So, but obviously once the tickets would have sold out in minutes, I think the internet broke down when they tried to sell tickets for that concert. Yeah, I remember that. So once those tickets sold out, they knew they had a full house. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think they had about 6 weeks to put the show together. And Jimmy Page, initially they only had a short set. They were only given was it 70-minute set or something, was it, or less? It was I've forgotten now what
an hour.
They were given an hour. Yeah, that's right. And they knew that they couldn't do a show in an hour playing some of the Led Zeppelin favorites. So for them to get to a 2-hour show in this format was amazing in itself, and then to see what they actually able to do was amazing. And full credit, without giving too much away of the rankings when we get into it, full credit to say Jason Bonham for stepping up and really holding it together. In my opinion, he was the backbone. Him and John Paul Jones were the backbone that held that thing together. You know, there's a lot of when you're watching it, moments where without Jason, I think it might not have worked, because Jason had become through the years a bit of how's the word, an expert on Led Zeppelin and their live performances, and that was done in 1973 at this particular venue. Oh, that was done here. You ended it this way, like he started telling them how they ended their songs. So he was like an archivist. He knew what to do, where he'd go find the bootleg, show them this and that. So in their preparation, I think Jason Bonham played a massive part. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, completely. I do. I think you're right there, and yeah, and we can talk about that, I suppose, when we get a little bit more into the songs, Brad. But so I just want to carry on a little bit. So we've got the gig, guys. Simon, Brad, they've got the gig. The gig has been done. It's out. And then we hear, don't we? We hear rumbling about, how, they're going to film it and that they're going to make it as a package for us. And I'm going, oh, my gosh, along with all my other mates here, we're going to get this. And then it doesn't happen. We don't get it.
Yeah.
And then we don't get it, and we don't get it. And then how many years later? So Simon, how did you feel when you found out that we were going to get something and then we didn't get it and then we got it? You want to share those thoughts with us?
Well, I'll go back a bit further, because clearly I was one of the 20 million people who applied, for a ticket, because, failed miserably. And as people know, I even petitioned John Paul Jones's daughter to see and I still couldn't get a ticket. That'll teach me. So I was clearly disappointed, but funnily enough, one of the things you learn about Led Zeppelin is that they're always quite coy about things, but that's part of the kind of holding stuff back. So I always thought that they absolutely would release it. I didn't know if it was a film or just a CD, but I was pretty confident they would actually release it, because that's the kind of thing Led Zeppelin do. And
I wasn't.
I think it's well, well done. I sort of was, and I was also conscious that it would probably take some time, that it wouldn't come out immediately afterwards, because that's not the Led Zeppelin way. They work at their own pace, they do their own thing at their own speed, and and clearly Jimmy Page is the kind of the keeper of the Led Zeppelin flame. It's kind of we'll go for it all, suss it all out, work out what to do, and gradually get something together, see if it's good, see if they approve of it, and and I think that's one of the most important things, isn't it? It's just of those things is to stick it on the shelf for a few months and then go back and look at it in the cold light of day, and see if it really stands up. And
that's my next question then for you guys. And hey, Julia, it's been a long time since we've seen you. Thank you for joining us,
Julia. Good morning.
So according to my research, and I never saw this, so and this is not a scripted set of questions that I've already previously guys given to my co-host, so they don't have the answers. They haven't had the questions. So according to my research, this concert, Brad, was on YouTube for 3 days before they took it off. I never saw any of that. So did you see any of that footage?
Yes.
And now this is where it might get controversial, ladies and gentlemen. Do you want to share with us then the footage that you saw and your memories of that compared to some of the stuff, the stuff that we've seen?
Look, to be honest with you, it is documented even that they did do a few overdubs and corrections in the footage for the release. So there were, let's say, little moments that weren't especially. It might have been like there was a couple of little things that I was vocally like, what's going on there, but it more to do with the front line, more Jimmy Page and Robert Plant than Jonesy or Jason Bonham. They were pretty on top of their game from what I could see. And you got to remember, guys, this is a long time ago now that I actually watched it before it was pulled down. But there were little things here and there. But when I saw the package, the Celebration Day package, obviously I bought it on with the Blu-ray, the DVD, the CDs. I bought the deluxe package. It come up sounding immaculate. I knew watching that going, oh, they must have fixed a couple of little things here and there. But I don't think they fixed a lot, Andrew. I'll be honest with you. I think it might have just been here and there that the little things that weren't perfect have fixed them, because still the essence of the show is there, and the essence of the live performance is there. And we're not going to knock any artist for doing that because,
no.
In my opinion, they have a right to do so, because you're putting out a live document. When you're at a live performance, it's never going to be perfect. But when you're listening back to a recording, everyone wants to hear it perfect. Yeah, everyone wants to hear that perfection. So, every release that I can think of that's gone from a live concert to a CD or an album or vinyl or DVD and Blu-ray has been fixed somewhat. I can't think of one live performance that has not been doctored a little bit, and that's the truth. Yeah. Oh,
look, I agree. I think you've hit the nail on the head, and we can talk about that when we go through the songs, Simon. But I went to the theatre to see this, Simon, so and was blown away by it. But did you see any of the footage on YouTube when it was released for 3 days?
No,
did you see any of that?
No, I didn't. I think it's pre my involvement in YouTube, so I don't know if I particularly realised that it was there or anything like that. So I didn't see any of it. No, and I think I agree with Brad. I think that anybody who is if you think go back to Live and Dangerous, Thin Lizzy famously, when a whole heap of it was re-recorded. Never mind fixing a few glitches and stuff. And I know that
get your yayas out.
Well, get your yayas out, absolutely. And I know that there was some can't remember exactly. There were some issues, weren't there? The first song, I think they had some like recording issues for the first song. They kind of
Correct.
some of it didn't work or something. So so they had, So I mean, no, I think that you go back and if the vibe is good, the general, and you're getting the essence of the show, and you're going, right, this has got the energy, this has got the vibe, this has got the, everybody's doing great, and there are one or two things that the odd bits, and we know that because Jimmy Page goes for it, that there are going to be things I think that he probably would go back. If you're going to re-release it, you probably go back and fix one of the things. If you've got a glaring clang, which in the heat of battle and the way that he plays and what he does, I think is almost inevitable. That I'd have no problem with that at all. I think that I would be doing that absolutely if I was in that position. I just go back and maybe fix one or two things, just tidy some stuff up. If it was glaring, because there's no point in releasing it with a great clang in the middle, is there? If you don't have to. So, and as I say, I think that every live album ever has had things fixed, and to varying degrees. And I think this is way down the spectrum of fixing things, fixing a few things, but pretty much in the main, it's the performance as is. And I think that is absolutely fine to do that. I mean, I think it's the right thing to do. But as I say, I think from their point of view, they put it on the shelf for a few months, then they come back and listen to it. And if the essence of the show is good, and you're going to know that after a few months, aren't you? After the euphoria has died down, and Jimmy Page, I think is a hell of a smart guy, and he'd go back and listen to it and go, yeah, it's got it. Or, and if it hadn't got it, if he thought it wasn't very good, like, the Live Aid thing, their Live Aid performance is so terrible that they wouldn't let go on the Live Aid, DVD when it's released. They said to Bob Geldof, no, we're not having it because it's so awful. And so that I think Jimmy Page is a good judge about whether it's good or not, and then makes a decision about it like that, which is fair enough, I think.
I think you're right, and we've got some picks, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, to show. Probably after the fourth song, because we're doing the 8 songs. Next week when we come back, we're going to, for all you gearheads there, we've got a couple of picks to show that will be relating to some of the gear that they've used, but I know that Brad's rubbing his hands together because he's a Les Paul Marshall man, and we'll deep dive next week when we talk a little bit more specifically about Page's gear, which is always going to be interesting, isn't it, Brad?
Yeah, 100%. And look, overall, look, the film and package is outstanding. The sound quality is fantastic. The CD, the DVD, and the Blu-ray, they're all got great sound quality. That they mixed and mastered everything really well. I think the magic moments, even the not so tidy playing, still comes up really, really well in this package. It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I must say that's an interesting point about they haven't knocked off all the edges, have they?
No,
they didn't fix all the thing. They could have gone. And I, and clearly, as I say, I'll go back to I think Jimmy Page is completely the guy to do it because he'll understand where's the line. That's worth fixing, but that's just in the playing. We'll just leave that, as it is because it's not a, glaring clang. But yes, yeah. So it's a fantastic package, as you can see. I've got it here. It's a great booklet. I just have one complaint. Anyway, anybody my age can't read that. I had to photograph it and zoom in.
John Paul Jones was involved in a little bit of the
I'm sure they were involved.
Production work as well. And clearly, if he was, when you consider Brad, the production career that he had as a producer, certainly was worth tapping into. And I think it shows. I think it shows on this package. So, hey Helen and hey Fruitcake Tony, you guys have jumped into the chat. Nice to see you. But look, I think we've given a pretty good general introduction from our unique individual perspective, guys. If you guys in the chat want to quickly say whether or not, you thought that it was going to happen. I didn't think, Brad. Like I said, I interrupted Simon when he was giving his couple of comments there. I thought, we weren't going to see this, but I was one of the excited people when it became official. What about you?
Oh, look, I was very excited when it became official because I could actually watch it back, and I remember sitting at work, through the internet at the time, like the news feeds and everything that were talking about the concert, were updating the set list, and I was just going, "Oh, I'd love to hear that now. Oh, I'd love to." We didn't have it, so to actually hear it in the production. Before we quickly move on, Andrew, there was a couple of things I wanted to just say. I've just seen there was a couple of things that I found in print that were like Page and Plant and Jonesy sort of reflecting on the package and thought it was really, really good. And obviously they called Jason a hero for what he did. But Robert Plant said on a musical level, we had sublime moments. There were several on December 10. Bear in mind, we're old guys now, and we're not supposed to be hip shrugging teenage idols. It was pretty. I'm not sure sincere is the right word, but it was real as you're going to get. And Jimmy was on fire at times. So obviously there's admiration. They knew that, Robert Plant's a realistic sort of guy. Yeah. He knows what he could do as a kid. He can't do now. But again, we touched on that before, that he's evolved as a singer. Jimmy Page said, we played really, really well, but we played with a total different urgency, if you like, from how we played it in rehearsals, which obviously that's going to happen because it's live, yeah? Although the rehearsals were pretty damn good too, I suppose in retrospect, the fact there was only one gig, then it's great that everyone afterwards would say that it was an historic and inspiring gig for people to hear. It's a shame there weren't any more that followed, and now we got to 2 years later and everybody's doing their own thing. So this is obviously an interview done within a couple of years after, when Page was trying to fly the flag to keep it going, yeah. And Jonesy added, there was a Zeppelin swagger, definitely. We know we were good. At our best, we thought we could be a match for any band on the planet. And at our worst, we were better than most of them. So he was a not so humble guy at times, yeah. So that was one thing before we go into the songs I want to mention too, that maybe we can bring up, in 2.2 of this is, why didn't they do more gigs after this? Because it was a damn shame, in my opinion. But,
I got
keep that for your conclusion, bro. Keep it for the conclusion.
I've got a theory about that.
Yeah. And obviously Robert Plant was the main reason. So we'll keep that for the conclusion, guys. And maybe you guys in the chat and people watching this later can give your analysis and observation of that as well.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm just saying, Jim, just under 50s, points out there's a YouTube film of the rehearsals, the whole rehearsal. It's just a single camera, just kind of thing. But it's well worth a look if you want to see them doing it in rehearsal and stuff and getting on it. That's fantastic.
That's the package I got's got the rehearsal on DVD as well.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I think that, that what you said about what Robert Plant said, I think is clearly one of the reasons why he wasn't going to tour with it. I think in those few comments that you read out is the kernel of the reasons why Robert Plant wasn't going to do it as over a long period. Probably.
Yeah, I agree.
That stuff about not being hip shaking teenagers anymore and stuff. I think that's his, and I think that's been his view of it for a long time, hasn't it? That going back to when you were 19 and doing stuff when you were 19 and is quite difficult if you're 60. I know this. I don't, Brad, I'm sure, that I don't, when I play in the band now, I don't do what I did 15 years ago, 20 years ago when we play, it's a different thing completely. So I get it, but
yeah, look, save all this for your conclusion, Simon. I reckon.
Yeah.
I've got a lot more for the conclusion.
Yeah, but I see
Keeping
what
my
Brad
powder
did
dry.
there is that's a signpost for people and critics, and I think that's a very good signpost, Brad. And thank you for doing that, because before we get into the tracks, I remember reading hacks. These journalist hacks saying it was nothing but a cash grab by Led Zeppelin, and I remember thinking at the time, well, if it was a cash grab, what's wrong with that? Led Zeppelin don't have to make any apologies to anybody. They've proven themselves over the years, and if they did want to get together and it was for the cash, well, why not? Rock and roll was always about making money, Brad and Simon. But yeah, a business, clearly. But I'm going to say, in defense of Led Zeppelin, clearly this performance, if you guys have not seen it, if anyone's watching the replay and they're interested in what we're saying and they're looking forward to part 2 or maybe part 3 of this, go and get it. It's available on Apple. It's available for downloading if you don't want to get a hard copy. So go and check it out. It's well worth it. But clearly, Brad and Simon, quickly, if you just want to give a quick summation before we get into the tracks, it's that they're not there for the cash, in my opinion.
Definitely not.
No, definitely not. I mean, it's a fundraiser for Ahmed Ertegun's charity, for starters, which provides scholarships for students in
Correct.
Turkey, the UK, and in America. So, and that's certainly where the money from the concert went. I don't know about the DVD and the CDs, to be honest. So, but even so, I mean, there's a lot of levels to this, hasn't it?
Yep.
That clearly Jimmy Page has been the master of keeping their Led Zeppelin flame alive with the really cool remasters of all the albums with all the extra bits on it and stuff. Clearly very carefully chosen. Like on the first one, the Albert Hall gig. That's the addendum to the first album and things. And really fantastic little records and the pre-mixes and different mixes of songs and stuff that I think really add to what they were. And doing that, and as you say, there are 2 words in music business, and one of them is business. And whatever you're, if you're the Rolling Stones, touring even as we speak, on the back of the Rolling Stones brand, keeping that alive, keeping it going, and and it's, I feel, that anybody who doesn't think that, the business bit is as important as the music bit is missing the point. Those guys, when they started, probably, I mean, there's a classic thing. If somebody asked Ringo how long he thought the Beatles would last, and he said, well, if I get a couple of hairdressing salons out of it, and by next year I'll be good. It's like, and I think that if you go back, that they never thought it would be a career like that. And then, as you go into it and as it develops over the years, in the 60s was the beginning of it, you have to discover what the business model is of, the long term for a band. How do you curate the, if you like, the estate of a band? What do you do? And there's some really interesting books about the curation of bands, people's estates, after they die. There's a book by a guy called Eamon Ford that's really good on this stuff about Elvis Presley's estate and how you curate these things and how you deal with it and how you keep it alive. And I think Jimmy Page has been fantastic about doing that. And I think this is probably, I would say, the beginning of his curation of it, and starting to understand the history of Led Zeppelin and keeping that flame alive, and after this comes the reissues, comes How the West Was Won, those things clearly kind of filling in the gaps of the Led Zeppelin legacy, and hopefully bringing them to a new audience as well. And who can blame him for that? Not me.
Yeah, Brad, it just goes to show, that, some of these generational music journalists have got no idea what they're talking about, But I do remember, and I think you and I had a conversation one other time about some of the criticisms that, these journalists were making when they decided, that they were going to get together and have this gig, and like a lot of great rock and roll bands, proved them wrong, silenced them. So we're in a position now in 2022 to celebrate that and jump on board, Brad and Simon, and talk about one of their great legacies that they've left us.
100%.
Yeah, yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's dive into the songs, gentlemen.
Okay, and I promise I will leave plenty of room for my co-hosts. And again, if you guys disagree with our ranks or agree, let us know. Again, if you guys are watching, share with us your comments on the ranks. I've marked these particularly tight because of the package that we're talking about, if that makes any sense, guys. And I'm going to just say one other quick little thing. When I finished doing the first 8 songs, I couldn't believe when I went and looked at the other remaining songs that there's wow. Okay, so the first song, obviously, Good Times, comes off Led Zeppelin 1. It's a great song. It's the perfect intro, in my opinion, Simon and Brad. Unfortunately, though, you can see a little bit there where Page is out of sync with the vocals, and I think that backs up what my co-host was saying about the opening track being a little bit off with the recording. And we're not judging them because they've gone and fixed it, but I can see clearly a bit of lip syncing there going wrong. Doesn't matter. The first solo is just a simple, perfect piece of musicianship for me. Simon, what I really like about this, and we're talking about too, I've got to make this clear to people, we're talking about the DVD, so we're incorporating a lot of the visuals. We're not just talking about an album here. So that's going to offer, I think, our ranks a bit of a different dynamic, Simon and Brad. But what I particularly liked about it was that nice tight stage that they had. I love that. That's one thing that struck me when I first saw it, Brad, and when I went and watched it a couple of times over the week. I'm just so satisfied, and I love it when I see it. Nice tight stage, 8 out of 10, never a skip. Brad.
Look, it's exciting from the word go because of what, it's been a long time since Zeppelin have performed, and, to have Jason Bonham in the background there holding it down. We've got to remember Jason Bonham's filling the shoes of his father, John Bonham, who was arguably one of the greatest drummers of all time. So big shoes to fill, yeah? We're talking about very big shoes to fill. And Jason actually put some BVs in there. He sings a little bit of backing vocals as well. But it's very exciting from the word go. Jason Bonham is in fine form and honouring his dad behind the skins. I'm sure his dad was gleaming with pride from looking down upon him, gleaming with pride. Page, Plant, Jonesy, they seem extremely comfortable. Like here, there's nerves there, you can tell, but they look comfortable because they're used to that. Yeah, they've been doing this for a long, long time. Robert Plant sings like a matured man. He sings well. He knows his ability and what he can do, and he's sticking to that. He's not trying to be 19-year-old Robert Plant anymore. I have to say, song choice, great song to open with. It opens the first album. It opened the set. Fantastic choice, and I have to say the set list is amazing on this performance. If you're talking about a wonderful, with a couple of deep dives, but some wonderful tracks there. John Paul Jones, I mean, he's a maestro. His thunderous bass lines. He's got a couple of highlights, reminiscence of Led Zeppelin 1. Jimmy Page is Jimmy Page. What else can I say? Then it's always great to see him play. And, he seems at times like he's always on the verge of a train wreck, but it never happens. And I love that. There's a sense of urgency when he plays, it's you're sort of waiting for something to fall off the tracks, and it never does. And I love that about him. I gave this, from the word go, 9 out of 10. It's never a skip for me. And well done to Jason Bonham. You can imagine the nerves that would have been going through his body at that particular time.
Hey, Jonas.
Thanks, probably bro. All of them. We should say good morning to Jonas Holberg. Good morning, Jonas. That's not a name I recognise from previous. So welcome indeed to our show. And L&M Guitar Corner. Well, good morning. Yes, good times, bad times. I mean, I think that clearly it's a reference to their career so far, opening with good times, bad times. So maybe I'm reading too much into that, but that's kind of what I felt about it. I think I'd say that you're right. It's got a huge sound, doesn't it? And they are the masters of that. I've got 3 instruments to fill up a very big space. I don't know about you guys. I went back and listened to some other live things, and there's definitely quite a difference in Jimmy Page's tone. The tone and the way that his guitar is set up. It's like full and rich, and kind of it's got a bit more body to it than previous ones, where it's a bit cleaner and a bit So as the pedal board thing will come into play, and we'll have a look at that. But I thought it was a great guitar sound. It sounds fantastic on my stereo, and also, I agree with you. John Paul Jones is just a titan, isn't he? When he comes in with that first bass solo, and you go, yes, we're back. And I noticed that there's a great roar from the crowd, and I figure that I thought that was kind of a mixture of ecstasy and relief, that they could still kick it and do it, and and it sounded as good as it did before. I agree with you, Brad. I think Plant very sensibly, sings. He's got a really rich voice, and he keeps it well within his range. There's no kind of high vocal histrionics to, keeps well away from that. Especially the first couple of songs, you've got to warm up, haven't you? Kind of, and get into it. And I think that's important. I think it's, and I think that the other side of it, which you've picked up, is that that kind of relief that Jason Bonham is, kicking it like his dad did, fantastic, holding down that bottom end. And I think he does a brilliant job. I think he's probably the hero of this in many ways, simply because, stepping into those huge shoes and, it's one of the best rock drummers ever. That's hard. And, doing it is fantastic. I gave this 8.5 out of 10, never a skip, and a fantastic opener. And that kind of sitting back with the relief that they're back. It's still the power.
Awesome. Thank you, L&M, for joining us, guys. Go and please check out L&M Guitars, good friends of ours. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Look, I think we're all on the same page here. Alan has given it, I think, 8.5 out of 10. Yeah. Hugh gave it a 9 out of 10. So yeah, okay. But I
Helen
think we are particularly sort of going to be like quite focused on our scores, and I think we it deserves to be. Rambling on, guys. Okay, second track off Led Zeppelin 2. My gosh, Plant looks awesome, doesn't he? He looks so good. It's just, I'm looking at his face there. You can see the sky. He's matured well. He's got that long hair, those fine features. He's not hiding his age. Just looks the piece, man. I just think he's fantastic. Brad, it's got that nice chug that we love, that nice guitar chug that is so critical as a critical component to the song. But even more than that, though, you've got that bass lead going on. And when we've spoken and we've ranked Led Zeppelin 2, I think we spent 20 minutes talking about this song and about how that bass lead is going on underneath the song that's just taken it somewhere else, Brad. I think you said, but it keeps coming back, but it wants to go and do something else, but it keeps coming back. It's one of those great things. Brad, Simon, 10 out of 10 for me. Certainly never a skip. Brad.
Well, look, the way they segue from the last song, Good Times, Bad Times, into Ramble On, it's sort of like just comes straight in nice and segues in nicely, and it's got that spookiness to it. Jimmy Page starts the rhythm guitar part, and then Jonesy comes in on the second pass with the bass line, and it sounds fantastic. It's held back, the tempo, they hold it back. It's a bit slower than you'd expect to hear. And Jason's very subtle on the toms with instead of it being loud and proud like on a pad or a practice pad or something like his father did, very, very subtle, very moody, and I love that. I always get a little bit sentimental hearing John Paul Jones playing this bass line. It brings back all my memories of listening to this for the first time. This album, Led Zeppelin 2, it's something fantastic. Robert Plant, he's singing. He's relatively holding back until the choruses kick in, and he gives some real chest belting. For his age, he's doing an amazing job, and he sings like he is his age. He's not trying to be, 1969 Robert Plant singing like he was. He's comfortable with how he sings, and he does it really well. In my opinion, the John Paul Jones and Jason are holding this song together. They are faultless. Page again, he plays fantastically. He's on the edge. He seems a little bit more comfortable in this song than the previous one. I think in the first song, Page looked a little bit on the edge, like he was, There's some delicious tones there. There's a really nice use of effects on the guitar. Jason's doing his dad proud in this song. And I love how they do the nice little segue into what is and what should never be ending. And then they end on the A chord, which leads to the next song. Look, I have to give it a 10 out of 10. It's never a skip for me. And really, second song in, and you're feeling what they're feeling on stage. The camera work, the angles, everything. You can see that they're on the edge of their seats going, let's not muck this up, guys. We've come this far already now. It sounds great. Let's keep going, yeah? So, Rock Professor.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think your second song, they're starting to relax. They're starting to go, doesn't it? Is it in this one where Robert Plant says, still sounds pretty good to us up here? Doesn't he? Is it in this one? I can't remember in this one very later. But,
but
That's well, it's a bit later.
In My Time of Dying, it's in.
That's in My Time of Dying. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, there we are. Yes, I may even made a note of it. But I think I'd echo that. Still sounds pretty good to me over here. It's I agree with you. That kind of the contrast, that they do so well. That kind of quiet, loud thing that is there. Beautiful bass break. As I said, the dynamics, that dynamic contrast that's that they do between the loud and the soft. And I just don't know whether I'm making too much of this, but I'm going to go for it. It just struck me that the lyrics to this were kind of, in a way, I thought they were quite personal to Robert Plant about, this is why I'm not doing it anymore. The leaves are falling around, time I was on my way. Thanks to you, I'm much obliged for such a pleasant stay. But now it's time for me to go. The autumn moon lights my way. For now I smell the rain, and with it pain, it's headed my way. Sometimes I grow so tired, but I know I've got one thing to do. Ramble on. He's got to keep going on his own path. Now, I don't know whether I'm making too much of it as a thing, but it struck me when I was listening to it. I was thinking, that's a hell of a reason, a hell of a personal reason why, it kind of likes the thinking of Robert Plant and how he thinks about it. And as I say, that's a theory, not a proven thing, but it did strike me when I was listening to it. As I agree with you about plant singing. Still singing within yourself, concentrate on the singing, not trying to let rip or anything like that. And the interesting bit is the speed, isn't it? The speed is kind of stately. I wrote down it was kind of stately, and concentrating on the power, of the sound to give you that power, not the speed to give you, the energy and stuff, which I think is interesting for the first few songs. And I thought it sounded great. I gave it a 10 out of 10, never a skip. And it's that kind of settling back, going, look, they've still got it. The magic is still there.
The rock professor really wants to give us his theory on why they didn't do a world tour, eh? He's making sure that you guys come back and watch the conclusion so that you guys can find out why he thinks they didn't go on the world tour. Very good, Simon. Well done.
Just saying how it struck me.
Well done.
Are you suggesting I'm talking nonsense again? Quite right.
No, because we've all got a theory on why, they didn't take, the cash and do the tour. Black Dog, ladies and gentlemen, off Led Zeppelin 4. I'm reading my notes here to my side. Effortless, Brad. The way that Page caresses those strings with his pick, especially during those rhythm strokes that he has, it's just fantastic. I'm talking a little bit about the visuals here, guys, because for me it's a feast for the eyes. It's a celebration of everything. So this is one of the great things that we do now and again. We get together and we can talk about DVDs as opposed to an album. Sorry for repeating myself, but it just sends goosebumps up my spine when I see the way that he just does that upward stroke on the Les Paul. It's fantastic, effortless. Plant grabs that mic stand and he thrusts at Simon like he's this arriving Viking from going to Valhalla. It's like, I'm going, wow, he's kicking into it now. The black and white, though, on the screen behind, the black and white of the crowd shots, boy, it just gives this interesting dynamic to this great song that we have. It's a feast for the eyes, too. Yeah. Guys, I've given this a 9 out of 10. Great song, but I'm happy with my 9, Brad.
Look, for me, this is the one that always worries me because it's a start-stop song. It's got a lot of things that can potentially go wrong. Look, from the way they set this up from the last song into this song, it's great, and I love how Robert comes in. He's singing confidently. He's got swagger. He's owning the song. Jason Bonham really starts to show a little bit of his own personality in his playing here, though. That's one thing that I picked up. The first 2 songs, he's playing very traditional like his dad. This song is starting to add a little bit of his flair and his own little thing in there, which I kind of really enjoyed that. I think it was great. You'll notice it a lot in the start and stops where, Robert's singing and he starts playing with him, like doing the accents and stuff. It's very cool, which his dad wouldn't do a lot of that stuff. And you can tell it's Jason. If you listen to Black Country Communion and stuff like that, that's how Jason plays, so hats off to him. He did an amazing job. John Paul Jones, he's picked up a guitar pick now and he's playing like a titan on the bass. That sound, it really holds it down. And he's holding that progression down with Jason really tight. Everything's together. Jimmy, in my opinion, is floating on the top of it. He's locked in, but he's not quite on the money with the riff like Jonesy is with. He's on top of it in a good way. It's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, guys. But the way he's playing, he floats over the top in true Jimmy Page fashion. I'll put it that way. He also looks a lot more relaxed in this song now. Jimmy Page does. He's taken the glasses off. The sun is off. Yeah, he's starting to engage a little bit more with the crowd, and again with the past. Like during the song, his movements on stage is starting to echo some of the things he used to do on stage, which is really cool to see. Look, the starts, the stops, the solos, the excitement, the ending. Jason gives it, gets a little feature. Page, Jonesy, and Plant. They're all offering their hand to him in acknowledgement, saying, well done. Have to give it 10 out of 10 just for the energy and the performance visually. It's so exciting. I have to agree with you, Andrew. The visuals with the camera, the back screen, the whole bit. It's something that listening to it on CD later, you're still picturing that in your head. It makes it just as exciting.
Yep.
Rock Professor.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Plant sounding good, getting more confidence, voice is warming up, starting to give it a bit. Again, plenty of power. There's the power there, that Led Zeppelin power. And I think with this kind of new kind of enhanced guitar sound, which has got a bit more, overdrive to it, a bit more breakup to it than possibly in the past. When I look back in the past, it was a bit cleaner, the sound. So just fills it out a bit in a great way. I love the. I think it's a great sound. I think there's audience, clearly giving it some in the in the song as well, with that and all of that, joining in. So I think the thrill of joining in. I'd say also that I really like the syncopated singing coming out of things. Got a flaming heart, gonna get my flippers, doing that as a kind of on the beat kind of. Yeah, syncopated sort of staccato thing, which I think sounds really good. Actually, I really like that. As a little sort of vocal feature that Plant does, is different from the original. As you say, I love the fact that Jimmy plays that harmony of the bass riff. He doesn't play the riff; he plays this harmony line to it that I think sounds great. It could sound a bit weird, but clearly that's what he's doing. He's playing a harmony of it, and which I think is brilliant for as far as I'm concerned. And great big sounding solo and a great ending as well, because you've got to have a great ending to a great rock and roll song. 9 out of 10 from me, never a skip, and they're starting to relax into it now and getting confidence.
Awesome. Hey Helen, a lot of people, again, we're all around the same. Ellen gave it 10 out of 10. Helen 9.5. So yeah. We're all within what is it? Within a point, a couple of points. So that's always good. No timeouts. No timeouts for people in the chat too. Rick, that could be a feature.
Really? That's our new feature, is it? We time you out in the chat if you deviate in a kind of dictatorial way, overtly dictatorial way. We're going to time you out if you distree with us.
just got to keep the people in the chat on their toes,
Yeah. Big brothers are watching you.
In my time of dying of physical graffiti, ladies and gentlemen, 11 minutes and 41 seconds of pure rock and roll magic. When I saw this at the theatre, and the 20 or 30 times since, when I see Page play slide on that Gibson, and we'll talk a little bit more about that next week on that Gibson guitar, it's just fantastic. I'm speechless by the way that he just gets in there and does something that blues musicians have been doing on acoustic guitars from the word go. Really nice to see the fretless bass come out, and if you guys have ever played a fretless bass as opposed to a fretted bass, the fact that a fretless bass is playing with a slide guitar just gives it that extra dynamic. So clearly Jones is on the money there by picking the guitar to do that. I don't know what they used when they recorded this album in the studio. I can't remember, and I didn't research it, but clearly that fretless bass, Brad, just is fantastic. And Bonham just keeps it going. Bonham just keeps the song going. It's fantastic. Still, when I think about the song now, describing the song, it's phenomenal. It's my Brad score, ladies and gentlemen. It's just a masterpiece. It's 11 minutes and 41 seconds of pure gold, Brad.
Yeah. Look, I have to agree, Andrew. It's one of my favourite songs from Led Zeppelin. My son plays this song daily, pretty much on our travels in my car. He loves this song, and even for that reason alone, it's got a lot of meaning for me. But when Paige, comes out and opens this song up, Robert Plant looks intently at him with pride and and respect. There's that on stage, you can see it immediately, and I love that, because despite what you say about whatever problems that the band's had since the Bonham died and things like that, there's a level of respect there that they have for each other. That hollow-bodied Gibson sounds amazing, and Jonesy's fretless bass, as you alluded to, it just complements that guitar so well, and the way he plays that fretless bass is just sensational. Robert's voice, he's sounding very warmed up at this stage and singing fantastically. They add a bit of sleaze to the song by holding the tempo back, in my opinion, which sounds fantastic. The starts and stops are very tight. You can clearly see the chemistry on stage between Robert and Jimmy on this song. If you haven't noticed already in the songs leading up to this one, you can watch them. They're in each other's pocket. They're watching each other for the starts, the stops, everything. John Paul Jones is, he's playing along with Jimmy. He's watching Jimmy's starts and stops, and he's faultless. He keeps the band together tight. John Paul Jones's bass lines are next level in this song. Back in the 70s when they used to perform this live, you listen to what Jones used to play, it would be sensational, and he still does it. So far out of the songs we've picked, this is my favorite. Moving forward, this is my favorite so far. The middle section with the accents, the starts and stops, perfection. Epic version of the song. 100 out of 10, never a skip for me.
Awesome. I'm just going to interrupt, bro. Thank you for your wonderful... Is Jason Wade, is that our friend Jason Wade in the chat? My gosh, it's been years, bro. It's been years. How are you? Good to see you, brother. Fantastic. Let us know how you're going.
Yeah, fantastic.
So that's Brad's favourite song up until now.
And I think probably right up there for me too. I think there's some interesting things that Plant says good evening the first time he's spoken on the fourth track. I think that one of is their confidence as a musical trio. It's a long song. It's got they are, as I've said on here loads of times, they are the masters of the dynamic. To me, start off just with that, and it's let's be fair, in this context, it's a huge slide sound, isn't it? Really big guitar sound, really kind of fills up the space and sounds fantastic to me. They don't go too fast, they've got steady speed. They're in control of it, and I think that creates, and I think Plant sings really great on it. I think that kind of growing into it in a way, when you're singing a song like In My Time of Dying, and you're in your, I don't know, however old he was, sort of 60-ish kind of thing, or 50, 55-ish, in his late 50s, you can bring a kind of gravitas to it and a power to it that maybe you didn't when you were 25. It's a different thing. And I think he brings that to the song, that experience, that the things that he's been through, that come out when you're singing and you're whatever old he is, 55 is, that sort of thing. I think, as you say, Jason Bonham, great swinging drums. He absolutely comes in with that da 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 da, thing. It's fantastic, a real power there that really reinforced the dynamic of the song. Amazing bass work, underneath the slide from John Paul Jones. I think he's an amazing, such a great player. He's the maestro of it. And now this is the one where Plant says still seems pretty good up here. I absolutely agree with him about that. And I think it is a lesson in dynamics and how to put together an 11-minute song, and keep it interesting and dynamic and energy wise. I think it's a 10 out of 10 for me, and never a skip, and it's a fantastic. We can still do it, boys.
So Brad,
that.
This is your favorite song up until now? Yeah. Okay. Fine. Okay. So it's the same with me, and it's the same with the Rock Professor. So very, very interesting. And I'm just checking out everyone else's scores too. So we seem to be on the money. Good to see you, Jason. It's been years, brother. Been years. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Yeah. Old schooler, yes, fantastic.
Yeah. Back from back one of the originals. Yeah. And Jason used to do a lot of streaming too. So good to see you, bro. Who doesn't like Led Zeppelin? Yeah, good point. Okay, guys. For Your Love, the first ever. For Your Life, sorry. For Your Life.
For Your Love is a different thing.
Live performance of the song, off Presence. And we get clearly the juice there, where Plant says that they've been together for 6 weeks and it's been a great time. So that backs up what you said, Brad, about how they were rehearsing for 6 weeks. So clear. We've got R2, R3, Lockie Nut in the chat too. Good to see you, brother. Another good
R3.
friend of the channel. Nice to see you. Brad brings out this page, brings out his Les Paul Custom on this, and we'll talk a little bit more about that next week. I like the reverb that they've added to Plant's vocals on this. It's really, really good. It adds an extra dynamic to his voice. I'll be upfront and honest with you guys. It's not a song that I would consider in my first category of Led Zeppelin songs, even though we're familiar with the album Presence. But I'm going to say that this is a 7 out of 10 for me, only because it's unfamiliar to my ear. I appreciate the performance, and certainly, Brad, I think it's something that they picked themselves because they just wanted to throw in that little tangent, that little obstacle to make the journey just jump up and jolt a little bit. 7 out of 10, Brad.
Well, if we know Led Zeppelin well by this stage, we know that they like to throw something obscure in a performance. This was clearly for those guys. They wanted to play this, and I reckon the initial thought may have come from Jason. He may have said, "Let's play For Your Life," and maybe they said, "Well, let's give it a shot."
Wow,
that's just because Jason was known for in rehearsals throwing up ideas to them all the time. It could have been. I'm just saying it could have. It's a could be situation, but from the start, it sounds massive. First time playing the song live, there's lots of tension in the stops, like they lag the stops a little bit. I'm very familiar with this song, Andrew, because I love the album Presence, and I love Jimmy just playing on it. So on the whole entire album of Presence, but I love how Jimmy Page, because in the recorded version of this, Jimmy Page is using the Stratocaster with a trem bar, So he's using the Black Beauty, and I think it sounds wonderful. It's a wonderful sounding guitar. The band's playing really tight. that they are lagging those stops deliberately just to give it a little bit more tension. There's lots of magic happening here on stage through this song. Jason really shines on this. Like I said before, I think his dad must be looking down upon him with pride and gleaming. Robert sings fantastically in this one. He seems very warmed up at this stage. His voice is very relaxed and strong. He's singing, he's pushing from his chest, he's pushing from below his chest and diaphragm up. Yeah, so he's really giving quite a vocal performance in this song. Jimmy Page, no holding back with his trembar on this song. He's playing it perfectly. I've always favoured the album Presence, and I love the song for this reason. I'm going to give it 9 out of 10, never a skip.
Cool.
No, I agree. I think that we are, when you're planning out the set list and you're planning out these things, that this is one of those songs that, I think it's played at the correct speed to give it swagger and power, and there's an art to that. I think, that, especially in a live context, it's kind of the thinking that, there's that kind of thing where the faster I play it, the more power it's going to have. So there's a kind of irresistible urge to speed up. I'm sure we've all done that when we've been playing live in bands. The old adrenaline kicks in, and it's always now. I think that one of their great assets as a band is they understand that, that playing it at the right speed, it gives it swagger and gives it power, and it gives it an authority that just speeding up to get that is the sort of, is a musician of my level's answer to it, not the real answer, which is to do it like this. And I think that the other thing I say about it is I think that it's a great guitar sound, and the integration with the bass and drums that are all locked together, and it's tight as a drum. I think it's fantastic, and it just when you come off the the hot that epic kind of In My Time of Dying, you've got to do something else. You've got to have a contrast to that, and I think this is a great contrast to that. I give it 8.5 out of 10. Never a skip. I think it's fantastic, and I think their understanding again of that basic dynamics of a band is just unsurpassed in my books about how to do.
Awesome, good to see people scoring in the chat too.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Got drops family garden in the chat too. Good to see, brother. Thank you for
morning drops.
Fantastic. We were around this. I gave it the lowest. I think I gave it. Nobody in the chat is giving it the same as me, but yeah, that's all good. Trampled Underfoot, guys, of Physical Graffiti. Really, really nice, isn't it? Really, really nice to have that homage played to, given to Robert Johnson, by one of the greatest exponents of blues himself, Robert Plant, listening to that and giving that that credence or that credibility back to where Led Zeppelin got a lot of their juju from's fantastic. Nice touch. Love it. Clearly we see Jones guys on the keyboards. What's really interesting, Brad, is I can see Pages all over the pickup selector on this song. He's flicking between. It's just, it's just one of the standouts for me when I just saw it over the last couple of days. He's just, and so what I was doing is I was rewinding to try and hear any kind of difference, but I couldn't hear it. But the point is, clearly he is up there on the stage. He's hearing something, but just obviously watching this guy, this master of a guitar player, and he's just using that pickup selector is just fantastic. Simon, did you see Plant do the microphone swing? Giving his Roger Daltrey performance there.
Yes,
loved that. Within context, it's fantastic. Proves that he's still got it. Still
absolutely
got it, mate.
Yeah.
He can,
Yes.
Look, the highlight for me is the keyboard solo with Page's wah solo together. It's just phenomenal. You've been listening to the Rock Professor talk about contrast, and this band is a great exponent of it. This is, again, another example, Brad, of that contrast that this band has, that keyboard and wah solo. Just amazing. Guys, I've given this 9 out of 10, Brad.
Yeah, look, Trampled Underfoot is a fantastic song. The way it starts, the original has always been quite a big favorite of mine on Physical Graffiti. But to hear it live, like I've always enjoyed the drumming more so live than in the recorded for some reason. And you can really, really hear Jason on this song paying homage to his dad. He's really trying to keep that groove happening, which for people who don't know, John Bonham played a particular way on the drums that no one's ever really seemed to master but John Bonham. And Jason has kind of got that feel through this song to get it right, because it adds funk the way he plays. So John Paul Jones starts off, he's got that sort of funky sound on the keyboards, and Page and Jason they seem to be locked really tight. It's the first time through the gig that you see Jimmy Page and Jason really locked in together. Yeah, they're really keeping it tight. Plant sings with conviction. He's strong. He owns it. Nice to see little close-ups of John Paul Jones playing the bass line with his feet, with the pedals. I don't know if anyone
that's
on
cool.
that.
Yeah. That's really cool, isn't it? Yeah.
He's got some way cool boots on there. I want to know where he got them from. So John Paul Jones, when you come on the show, let us know where you got those boots from, mate. I'm going to be ordering them. They're wonderful. It's nice to see. We go on a lot about John Paul Jones on this show. If anyone doesn't understand what I'm talking about, he's playing the keyboards and he's playing bass pedals, so he's playing the bass with his feet. It's for me to even comprehend doing that. I just can't work out how he does that. It's fantastic to see. For the highlight for me is watching John Paul Jones in this song. I love every minute of his keyboard work. Fantastic to see Robert Plant admiring each individual as they play their solos. I think watching that, it just gave me a newfound respect for Robert. Even I had respect always, but he's giving those guys their space and he's sitting back and admiring. You see him watch John Paul Jones. He comes across and watches him. That sort of stuff gives me goosebumps. I'm just proud to say that's like chemistry. Real men that love each other are showing each other admiration for what their talent is. Fantastic work. And Jason, like I said, he's the other standout on this for me. Jimmy Page's solos, like he's playing like Jimmy Page does, but now. So it's fantastic. For me, there's a lot of smiling going on in this song while Robert's singing Push. When they go, push, push, you can see them all smiling. They've got through it. They're loving it. I gave it 10 out of 10. It's never a skip. Simon.
Ooh.
Well, I agree. I think this is Led Zeppelin's dance number, isn't it? Their kind of funky dance number, tribute to sort of, Stevie Wonder type thing, that clavinet sound. I think, for me, John Paul Jones is the star of this. I'm absolutely with an amazing, keyboard player keyboards that set the rhythm, the tone, and they, as you say, Brad, they all slot in behind him, and fill it in as a, fantastic, just showing what they can do with that kind of, that kind of funky backbeat stuff. It's just great to me. It's a great fun number. That they do really well. They don't overstay it either. I think I was impressed by, keeping it to 6 minutes is good. You don't overstay it. Again, it's a different kind of song because it's the first time that we've had keyboards, basically, at the front. So, again, thinking about the contrasts and the dynamics of a show and things like that, the perfect time to have a kind of the first keyboard song is probably here. gives fresh interest to what you're listening to and things. And this is a classic Led Zeppelin song, isn't it? Trampled underfoot. And I can't add. I love the wah-wah guitar and stuff, and what Jimmy Page plays. He's clearly getting back into it. When he leans back and does all that stuff, it's just brilliant. And it's a 9 out of 10 for me, and never a skip. And I think just going, Brad. Just one thing I made note that Jimmy Page learned to play the church organ, in his youth, and that thing about using your feet is a church organ thing. I think that's probably where he learnt it from.
John Paul Jones, you mean? Yeah.
JPJ. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because that's what you've got to do on a church organ. It's all 4 limbs, a bit like drumming, but you've got all those, the feet stuff you do with the church organ to do the same thing. So
two songs to go, gentlemen.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, absolutely. I think we're at
okay.
Hour and a half.
We're gonna flick some picks up, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll have a bit of a chat. There's not too many, but there's a couple of picks here that Brad's thrown through for you guys if you're not familiar with the stills from the show.
That's just a great shot. That's a shot of the 3 remaining members looking back at Jason, smiling. I love that photo. You can imagine how Jason would have been feeling watching that, looking back at him. And obviously there's the 4 of them there, with Jason being the youngest one with the sunglasses on the head there. And that's the son of John Bonham, the original drummer who passed away. So great stage shot there of the 4 members, but in particular you can see Jonesy's looking intently at Jimmy Page's, what he's doing. He's keeping an eye on there. But there's Robert Plant. He was feeding off Jimmy Page in this. Robert was, and that's that chemistry thing I was talking about. Just keeping an eye on each other and the unsaid chemistry.
So this is the poster, guys, for the gig, based on the Mothership artwork that came out a couple of years, which is like a collected greatest hits by the same artist. And notice too here that the Zeppelin is pointing towards the right as opposed to Led Zeppelin 1 and Led Zeppelin 2, where the Led Zeppelin machine is pointing to the left. So that's definitely something that they've done done consciously. Here's some pics here. So sorry about the blurry pics. I didn't realise that they were that bad, but you guys get a bit of an idea. There's Page there playing that Gibson. There's a bit of an idea there of the back screen there, the screen that they had. It's fantastic.
Look how close they are to each other as well. Look how close they are. How closely, doing that classic. You might have a big stage, but actually they're all cramped, in front of the drums, round the drums. Play, I think it's fantastic. That's how you get that communication as a band, isn't it? Not by being 100 miles apart. You get that communication and that kind of that simpatico and that feel by being around each other and being close. Jimmy Page's guitars are way over to the right, but Jimmy Page is, standing within, 2 meters of Robert Plant, standing right up close to him and just in front of the drums. I think that always impresses me that that the band understands, that how a band dynamic works. And that's how it works in my books. You all huddle together, kind of thing, to keep it going.
That's good.
Look at that.
For all you gearheads, so we're going to talk a little bit more about this on the intro next week. But there's Page there doing his familiar. He does that quite a few times. Gosh knows what he's doing, but he's playing his number 1 there. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Another shot there with his amps. You may notice there, if you've got a keen eye, he's playing a couple of orange heads there, so I think that might add to the tone variation that the Rock Professor was talking about. We'll talk a little bit more about that again next week. Jonesy there playing a 10-string bass. So again, very interesting. We'll talk a bit more about that too.
Yeah.
And I've just thrown this in because I'll have another picture for you guys as a contrast next week. But for most of the 70s, Page just had a channel switcher on the stage and a wah. So this is what he played. And it's the same guy that built Clapton's pedal and amp system. Who was it? Simon Cornish?
Pete Cornish, yeah.
Pete Cornish,
yeah. I was going to say it looks very much like the David Gilmour, and that's a Pete Cornish build as well.
Yeah.
With it all kind of set in, and then the buttons at the bottom kind of thing. Yeah.
But we'll talk about that if you guys want a bit more in depth next week. Bit of gearhead stuff, Brad. Never goes astray, does it?
Never.
It's worth looking at and pointing out. I mean, interestingly, that's quite a contrast, that Pete Cornish board, from what you would have seen in 1973 if you went to see Led Zeppelin, where you would have thought, Tone Master, possibly a wah-wah, and that's about it.
Yeah. Like I said, he just had a wah and a channel switcher on the floor, on the stage. So So we'll have some more picks, and we'll talk about some of the gear next week for all you guys out there. Second to last song that we're doing on Led Zeppelin 1.0. Is this 1.0 or 0.1? 1.0?
1.0. 0.1.
Nobody's fault but mine. Off Presence again. The intro solo is just amazing. It's fantastic. Great example of the timing. The timing between the band members is exquisite. Brad hinted at it, where Jonesy was looking at Page, but the band clearly get it on the money on this song, because there's a couple of stops, couple of breaks that you have to get it really, really well. They made no mistakes as far as I can see. And then obviously the harp, and boy, he can still play the harp, can't he? He's up there with one of the best harp players. Brad, if they went through and edited, a harp on top of that, well, I don't care. It still sounds great. Good to see him still give it depth. I love it. Simon, I've given this a 9 out of 10. It's an amazing song. Brad.
Yeah, nobody's fault but mine. It's the intro has always been very interesting to me, and to perform this live is quite unique, because if you listen to the recorded version, there's multiple guitars playing that intro. There's lots of stops and starts. There's a lot going on in the song, but from my understanding, it's got that blues trade-off guitar vocal thing going on from the start. Lovely phase pedal on Jimmy's guitar. It's got a lovely tone to it. It sounds like a phase 90 to me. It sounds wonderful. But the song is held together by Jason here, and Jonesy on his 10-string bass. But Jason clearly holds his song together. I've noted great harmonica solo from Robert Plant, and I always used to love listening to him, play it all those years ago, and hearing him just bust out. And while he's playing the solo, you see Jonesy, Page, and Jason having fun behind him. They're watching each other. They know what they're doing. A slight variation on that solo section. They're doing a little bit different to what's actually on the recording. It's like they're lagging and holding the note instead of like playing the repetition, which I found was really good. I love that they did that. It was like a little bit of magic there. Jimmy's guitar solo, it has a little bit more of a natural feel on this one. He's not forcing it. He's letting it all go. He's letting it all hang out. Typical Jimmy Page magic. I've always loved this song, and I love the little nod that Robert Plant gives Jimmy right at the end of the song. I don't know if you guys picked up on that, but that to me was worth 10 out of 10. Just that. So 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip.
Awesome.
Simon.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, yes, that huge phase guitar at the beginning and stuff that really, really make it huge. I think that it's got fantastic drumming. I think again, it's this great use of dramatic starts and stops, isn't it? The start and the stop, and that ability to go. Space is a good thing. We mustn't. You don't have to fill it up. You don't have to mess about. The beginning bit where the guitar and just the vocals do. And just at the beginning, nobody's playing, nobody comes in. And they're happy to let it go. Let it just do those two things. And I think that it's a mark of a great band if you're confident in just going, we're going to have this, clearly tightly organized, and what we're going to do, just that guitar bit, and then just Robert Plant singing is just, it's just really good. As I say, it's another dynamic, dramatic effect that they use, a different slant, a different feel, a different vibe to the song from what we've had previously. I agree with you about the harmonica solo. Another cool piece of different coloration on the song. Robert Plant doesn't, this is the one where he plays the harmonica. I don't think he plays it on any other song. So, just those little dramatic things that go, here's another piece of interesting instrumental coloration just to keep you interested. That's fantastic. Jason Wade, you're a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you so much for the super chat. That's really cool of you. That's fantastic.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah. So, love the guitar solo, and I love the guitar and the voice singing together at the end. And it's a 9.5 out of 10 from me, and never a skip. A great, set piece of dynamic difference. That's fantastic.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Jason. And we'll let you guys know what we're going to do. We're going to do some t-shirt draws, so we'll keep you guys up to play with what we're going to do. Last song before we knock the show on the head, ladies and gentlemen.
Part one.
In preparation for next week, No Quarter. Again, we've ranked this album. It's off the Holy album, Houses of the Holy. I don't know what to say about this song. I think we spent half an hour discussing this song a couple of times. I think on The Song Remains the Same as well, didn't we, guys? It's just, I don't know where to start. That keyboard intro, followed by that riff, Brad and Simon. That riff.
That wah-wah guitar.
I just, and to see these guys when they did it in the theatre, Brad, and to actually have this and compare it with on The Song Remains the Same, and just be enraptured by it. This is my second Brad score. I just that riff alone with the keyboards. I can't get over that. That's it. That's it, Brad.
That's all he's got.
Yeah, it's a Brad score.
No Quarter is a soft spot for me. I love the song. I love the Houses of the Holy version, the emptiness in the song, the dynamics. I love The Song Remains the Same version. That's probably my favorite version of this song. But I love this version of it. The minute John Paul Jones starts the song, the atmosphere just immediately changes.
Yep.
He really is amazing, John Paul Jones. The song kicks in, once like Jason Bonham and Jimmy Page start playing, it just sounds massive. Lovely guitar tone, lovely drum sound, and a lovely wah guitar pedal like work from Jimmy Page in this song. But that little bit at the start when he's playing, and then the drums come in with Jimmy Page playing those inverted chords, it's like instantly goosebumps. So you know what, you're in for a real treat when you hear that. Robert Plant sings this song with pride. You can tell he loves this song, in my opinion. Jason it is really shining through this song. He's holding down those grooves that his father created all those years ago to the best of his ability, and I think he does an outstanding job. But the feature in this song truly is John Paul Jones. His solo is stellar. Just hearing John Paul Jones play with Jason alone when the breakdown happens, and it's just Jones is playing, and then Jason comes in. It's like a full band playing alone without even Jimmy Page accompanying them. And then when Jimmy comes in, it's like, wow, it's just sort of the magic lifts. Jimmy's solos, with all the smoke machine behind, like created mood behind him, and visually it's outstanding. Solo wise, it keeps it short and sweet. It plays just what's needed. There's some beautiful angles of the camera work in this song too, especially whilst the solos are playing. The solos, then Robert Plant comes back out and sings the song beautifully with the Thurmans thrown in there from Jimmy Page with the woo, woo, it's like 1973 again. It's a wonderful thing. I have to give it 100 out of 10. It's never a skip for me, Simon.
Before Simon gives the score, I got to agree with you, and I'm glad that I knew that one of you guys would mention it. The way that they brought the fog in, the fog was just nailed it. Just because they did the same thing on Song Remains the Same too.
Yeah. Hey, if it works, then it still works now, doesn't it? Or if it works in 1975, works in 2007. No arguments from me.
Simon, sorry for interrupting.
No, it's fine. Well, I think it's really worth it. It's that a simple thing can really add to the dramatic effect of the guitar. Just a bit of dry ice smoke, can really add. It's, it doesn't have to be like. No. Just again, and I think that's one of the keys to Led Zeppelin, isn't it? They understand that just something can add a lot to something, and it doesn't have to be huge all the time. It's and I can't, I'd say that again, it's another fantastic example of playing something at the right pace so you get the power and the control. And the dynamics and the difference between, those really atmospheric keyboard playing. And I think John Paul Jones, it's fantastic, keyboard playing. I think is still brilliantly done. I love the way did you notice this? The way the keys morph into the piano. The way it's like, I don't know how he did that. And I must go and look at the deep and check it out. But I know all of a sudden it's kind of like it's sort of like somebody merged them together, and I couldn't really work out how he'd managed to do it. But fantastic piano playing as well. I think it's beautiful, kind of melodic, atmospheric piano playing as much as the keyboards at the beginning. I think, as you say, Robert Plant sings it brilliantly. I think he's really in control. It's a great vocal performance. Really gets into the song, gives it atmosphere and dynamics. It's a fantastic performance from me. I can't get enough of it. It's 100 out of 10. It's a Brad score. And could I say, but it is every bit as good as the Song Remains the Same version. Oh. Every bit. There is no, there are differences, but it's in no way is it inferior to the Song Remains the Same version. I think it sounds fantastic. So I just thought I'd make that point. I did go back and have a bit of a compare and a contrast. And I don't like the Song Remains the Same one better than I like this version. They're both just fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, and it's a credit to this band. So all the naysayers that we spoke about at the intro who really didn't know what this band was going to deliver, but they had it in them, didn't they? And we're not giving a conclusion, ladies and gentlemen. We're just going to give a quick little summation before we end the show. But I'm sitting here, somewhere doing my rankings, and I'm going, oh wow, this is fantastic. And then I go, and then I have a look, Brad, at the other 8 songs, and I'm going, oh my gosh.
Next week. Yeah, It's sort of, yeah, I find this really difficult, you know. There's no 6 out of 10s here. No way, you know. It's oh dear, you know. Oh, that sounds like
I,
sort of, you know,
I've given my
sycophancy or whatever,
lowest
but
score.
bloody
My lowest score's been
yeah,
given, so
yeah.
yeah.
Shame
But,
on you.
But I
No
think
worries.
it's an interesting spectacle. That's the word I'm going to use to describe it, because it's not an album we're talking about, and I do like the fact, Brad and Simon, that every now and again we do a DVD. You know, it's really good, and there's some other bloody good DVDs out there for us to dive into too. You know, just to have that visual context, Brad, that you're talking about before. Just, I think I'm going to be upfront and honest. This is why I like this so much, because the video is so bloody good.
Oh yeah, and you know, without sort of deviating too much, I mentioned that when we're doing the Clapton one, Nothing But the Blues. So, you know, I think you've got to see the visual to really appreciate a live performance.
Yes.
I think that's imperative, and
True.
it's like the CD or the audio version you get. Listening to it later is more of like, it's just a treat to be able to listen to it audio wise, like whether it's in your car or whatever. But for the most part, I'll put the DVD on and watch the visual because I want to see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'd say that I've listened to CDs. You know, just the oral experience is fantastic. Just the audio experience, just on the CD. As you know, if I put it on my stereo and it just, you know, it sounds like you're there, and you know, and I don't need the visuals to be dragged into the, you know, the drama and the atmosphere and the excitement of it. You know, especially on something like No Quarter. You know, it just, you know, you put it on the stereo and turn it up. Man alive, that is a thrill and a half.
It is it's a great song, and there's some more, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't gone and listened or seen this spectacle that we're talking about, please go and listen to it. Better still, go and download it. It's available on iTunes, Apple TV. If you don't want to go and buy a hard copy,
it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
You can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah. Go and check it out and come back for part 2. It's been a pleasure hanging out, especially I know that Brad and Simon are Led Zeppelin nuts, so like I said at the beginning of the show, we're fans and we're sharing our opinions and our ideas, and if we've got a couple of things wrong, well, sorry. But if you agree with us or disagree with us, that's fine, isn't it, Brad? You know, we're just hanging out. So we look forward to part 2.
Yeah. Can't wait for part 2, guys. And well done, guys. We got through this far, and we've got 8 more songs next week. And
fantastic.
You said, Andrew, there's some epic ones coming up. So get ready.
Awesome.
I'll say goodbye to everyone in the chat.
Okay. Yep. Cool.
Shout them out. Yeah, might as well shout them out. And as we go along, let's roll back up to the end. So we've got Keith Campbell, Hugh Caldwell. Thanks, guys, for joining. Julia Baldessari, good to see you, Julia. Hope you're good. Ellen, Toll, Hugh Caldwell, Bent Tom, Robert Ranford, Johnny Heartbreaker, of course. Thanks, Johnny, for staying up and being part of it. Great stuff. Teresa, happy birthday. Keith Campbell, happy birthday for Wednesday. We had Fruitcake Tony. We had Tim Thomas and Hugh Caldwell, and rolling down Johnny Jazz Thunder 50. Jim, thanks, Jim. Great comments as ever. Helen Winter, thanks, Helen, for joining. We've had Jason Wade. Thank you, Jason, for the super chat. That's really kind of you. Fantastic to see you. We've had Jonas Hallberg. Thank you, Jonas, for joining. Good to see you too. And hope you enjoyed it. L&M Guitar Corner. Thanks for joining as well. L&M, that's really cool. Don't do that. Start to block people now accidentally. That's embarrassing. Jason Wade. R2, R3 locking up. Good to see you, man. Hope you're well as well. Thanks for dropping by. Fantastic to see you. Who else have we got in here? Have I missed anybody? Maybe not. Let's go to the Led Zeppelin, of course. Robert Ranford. Drops Family Garden as well. Thanks, Drops, for dropping by. Really cool to see you. I think that's everybody. So thanks everyone for dropping by, and come back next week for part 2 when you'll hear my enormously expansive theory on why it's only one constant.
Simon, you're chomping at the bit to go through your conclusion.
I'm saying nothing till next week.
Yeah.
We've said a few things, so we've got an idea.
Teasers, possibly.
If you guys haven't already subscribed to our channel, if you're watching us on replay, please do. We appreciate your subscription. We subscribe to every channel that subscribes to us. Go and check out our friends on our community page too, please. If you want to be on there with your YouTube channel, get in touch with me, Brad, or the Rock Professor. We'll be on there. There's our clickbait for the week, ladies and gentlemen.
Look at the guns on that.
That's a clean-shaven face, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our unashamed clickbait. So, hey, if it's good enough for other channels to do clickbait, it's good enough for this channel.
Good enough for us.
See?
Yes.
We're still waiting for the Andrew clickbait.
Well, I'm gonna put. If anybody wants to be clickbait for us, send in your submissions, and we'll put them on the channel for clickbait. We'll gladly do that if you want to help build the channel. We're out of here before we get into trouble.
Yes.
Be cool. Bye-bye.
Take care all. Bye. I'm typing in the chat.